There happens to be a specific breed of individual who consistently spots what everyone else overlooks. These are the folks who catch the most minuscule facial expressions, decode feelings others desperately attempt to conceal, and identify psychological habits invisible to the rest of the world. They effortlessly pierce right through social facades, instantly shine a light on the truth, and pick up on the silent friction hanging in any given space. The majority of society refers to this as profound intuition, considering it a brilliant intellectual talent. However, the reality is that this capability actually serves as a grueling mental weight. That is because possessing the power to see through everything invariably carries a steep cost. These individuals cannot simply power down their brains to play dumb and maintain ordinary interpersonal dynamics. Perpetually picking up on artificial conduct drives them straight into solitude, self-doubt, and total psychological burnout. This isn't because they lack mental stability, but rather because they shoulder the burden of realities nobody else comprehends. This is an incredibly perilous tightrope to navigate. Possessing this uncommon degree of perception will either gradually tear them apart or transform them into someone truly exceptional. Today, we are going to unpack the psychological makeup of those who notice what the rest of the world misses, and explore how they can prevent themselves from being devoured by their own intellect. Welcome back. I'm Nori. Let's get started. To comprehend exactly why certain individuals observe what others fail to see, we must completely remove the mystical perspective from the conversation. Looking at this through the lens of neuroscience, this phenomenon stems from a rapid-fire information processing mechanism known as thin slicing, paired with an acute talent for spotting incongruence. Picture the standard human mind as a crowd sitting down to watch a theatrical performance. They stare at the stage and completely buy into whatever the performers say. Yet, the mind of a highly observant individual operates in a completely different manner. Their subconscious works on autopilot, peering behind the velvet curtain at the back of the stage. They pick up on the damaged props, the hand of the prompter, and the nervous sweat dripping off the actor. Their brain functions as a 24/7 data collection machine, perpetually scanning for technical glitches in human conduct. People transmit information using two distinct avenues, verbal and nonverbal. The vast majority of the population pays attention strictly to spoken words, but those who see through the facade possess an embedded radar system intensely attuned to the nonverbal frequency. They focus heavily on what Dr. Paul Ekman refers to as microexpressions, minuscule shifts in the face that flicker past in a mere 1/15th to 1/25th of a second, laying bare the genuine feeling an individual is attempting to suppress. When a colleague remarks, "I'm really happy you got promoted," the highly observant person instantly detects the incongruence. They pick up on the vocal pitch elevating by half a tone. Notice that the grin fails to reach the corners of the eyes or spot a fleeting flash of envy. The mind immediately triggers an alarm: data error. The spoken phrase and the physical posture do not align. This statement is a lie. This entire evaluation unfolds beneath the level of conscious thought, happening in a flash. It is exactly like taking a sip of soup and instantly recognizing that it is salty. They do not have to overthink the flavor. The tongue merely relays the factual reality. However, the most terrifying aspect is not spotting the deception itself. It is recognizing the underlying motive driving it. When their knack for pattern recognition merges with theory of mind, they peel back the disguise and perceive the other individual's deep-seated insecurities and phobias. They stare at a manager who is screaming and perceive a terrified child panicked about losing control. They observe a person who constantly boasts and perceive a bottomless pit of self-doubt, hungering for validation. That might appear to be a massive advantage in communication. But in reality, peering through people frequently shoves them into three draining psychological traps. Trap 1. Becoming the accidental villain. Back in Greek mythology, there existed a prophetess named Cassandra. Apollo bestowed upon her a magnificent present, the power to foresee the future and know the truth. Yet, that present was accompanied by a vicious curse. Nobody would ever believe what she said. Cassandra consistently foresaw catastrophe long before it arrived. She screamed out warnings, yet the public merely viewed her as insane, pessimistic, and disruptive. Individuals with these perceptive eyes in our modern era are the Cassandras of social relationships. The reality is that human society is constructed upon courteous deceptions and masks. We require masks to survive, to ensure the workplace operates smoothly, and to keep families peaceful. Everyone silently consents to participate in a shared performance. And then they arrive, the folks who refuse to wear sunglasses. The ones hauling around a massive spotlight and aiming it directly into the dim, moldy corners everyone is trying to keep hidden. Let us examine what happens in a dating scenario. They encounter someone on a dating app. Right from the initial coffee date, the other person arrives polished and charismatic, chatting endlessly about billion-dollar projects, luxury trips, and behaving like the perfect gentleman or dream partner. A normal guy or girl might feel overwhelmed, plunge into admiration, and genuinely assume they have met fate.
But not them.
Their radar has already scanned the other person's entire psychological structure within 15 minutes. They recognize that overconfidence is actually a form of overcompensation. They pick up on the continuous eye movements, checking for reactions, proving that the individual is performing, not living naturally. They identify that rushed enthusiasm as a hidden manipulation script. When they tell their friends, this person feels way too fake. Their companions stare at them as if they are paranoid and ruining their own happiness. You're too picky. They seem so nice. Because the crowd only observes the tip of the iceberg, while they perceive what is underneath. Lacking any proof other than intuition, nobody believes them. They become the bad guy in their own story. Things deteriorate even further within the workplace or inside friend groups. When they possess this kind of insight, they accidentally strip away other people's chance to play their role. When one coworker incessantly gripes and acts like a victim of a cruel boss to win sympathy from the whole office, everyone comforts them. But the person with sharp perception knows the truth. They are fully aware this colleague is actually missing deadlines, working irresponsibly, and using tears to manipulate public opinion. They do not comfort them. Sometimes, they simply drop one grounded, realistic comment. Honestly, if you had managed your time better on this project, your boss probably would not have said that. And boom, the whole mood shifts instantly. That coworker turns on them with sharp hatred. Why? In psychoanalysis, this is called projection and ego defense. When the true nature a person is trying to hide gets exposed, they go through intense shame and humiliation. To protect a collapsing ego, the brain strikes back. They do not admit the truth. Instead, they turn the perceptive person into the villain. They start saying that person is cold, arrogant, judgmental, and lacking empathy. As we can see, truth is expensive. When these people see through others, they do not earn respect. They create fear. They make other people feel psychologically naked. And driven by survival instinct, human beings always want to destroy the person who holds their secrets. Little by little, people with this ability learn a cruel rule. Their clarity makes others uncomfortable. So they choose silence. They smile and nod. They pretend not to know. But that silence creates a huge empty space in the soul and pushes them into an even scarier trap. An even scarier trap. Trap 2. The reading people obsession and overthinking. When they cannot trust what others say, they begin trusting only their own analysis. This is when observation ceases to be a helpful tool and turns into a toxic risk control mechanism. Let's call this the detective trap. Because these individuals are so used to spotting lies behind smiles, they begin to assume that everything has a hidden meaning. Nothing feels as simple as it looks. They lose their innocence in relationships. A compliment from a partner is never just a compliment. It feels like a setup for a future favor. A gift from a lover is not seen as romance. Their brain immediately asks, "What is he feeling guilty about?" A reply that comes 30 minutes late is not because the other person is busy. It becomes a sign of distance, a loss of priority, the beginning of the end. They trap themselves in a loop of constant high alert. What is the real purpose of this vigilance? To never get hurt. They stay in this loop to protect themselves. They believe that if they can predict every betrayal, they will not feel pain when it happens. Their sensitivity turns into psychological armor. But this armor is too heavy, and it blocks all real emotions. By constantly analyzing and guessing, they fall into a dangerous thinking error called confirmation bias. When they believe someone is hiding something, their brain filters all information to prove that belief is right and ignores anything that says otherwise. They see their partner's tired eyes after a long day and instantly interpret it as, "She's getting bored of me." They stop trusting the present because they are busy living inside 10 worst-case scenarios of the future. They win every mental game. They expose every mask. They never get fooled. But the price is they can never relax. Innocence, unconditional trust, the peace of resting your head on someone's shoulder without overthinking, those become luxuries. They're like someone with extremely sensitive hearing, able to hear the cracks in a building before it collapses. It helps them survive, but it takes away their ability to enjoy music, because every sound is analyzed as a threat. And the exhaustion does not just come from overthinking. It also comes from another invisible weight, the burden of unspoken truths. Trap 3. Becoming an emotional dumping ground. There is a very strange kind of loneliness that only people who see everything can understand. It is not the loneliness of being alone. It is the loneliness of standing in a crowd, watching a tragedy unfold, and not being able to say a word. They attend a close friend's wedding. Everyone is cheering and celebrating, but through the groom's glance at the bridesmaid or the bride's forced smile hiding anxiety, they know the marriage is built on sand. They see the collapse at the very moment of celebration, yet they still raise a glass and say, "Wishing you a lifetime of happiness." It feels like knowing the Titanic is about to sink while standing in first class, watching everyone dance. They cannot warn anyone because no one would believe them, and they would ruin the moment. Or they see a kind coworker being taken advantage of again and again by a manipulative, toxic boss. They see the exhaustion in that coworker's eyes, but they also know that if they step in, if they tell the truth, it will be denied because to survive that coworker is using denial, a protective shield they have no right to take away. Holding all these truths slowly drains their life energy. It creates a quiet, chronic heaviness. They feel compassion for people who do not realize they are being deceived, yet at the same time, they feel disgust toward the fake masks of the world. Their mind is stuck between deep empathy and bitter skepticism. And the saddest part, because they are so good at reading people, they understand others' needs before a single word is spoken. They know how to act in ways that please everyone, becoming great diplomats. But in return, no one reads them. No one knows what they truly need or where they are hurting. People assume they are too strong, too smart to need protection. The one who heals the world becomes like a glass wall. They see through everyone, but when others look at them, they only see their own reflection. So, what is the way out for a mind that cannot stop seeing the truth? They cannot simply switch off their sensitivity. Forcing themselves to think less is like asking someone with perfect 20/20 vision to pretend everything is blurry. It is impossible. The goal is not to see less. The goal is to change how they respond to what they see. In therapeutic psychology, this kind of transformation requires them to build cognitive boundaries and practice the following 3 survival principles. Principle 1. Strategic ignorance. This is the art of knowing everything, but not reacting to everything. Clearly separate truth from responsibility. They see a coworker obviously sucking up to the boss in a fake way. That's the truth. But the real question is it their job to expose that person? No. Does it affect their KPIs?
No.
Then treat it like a cloud passing across the sky. They can see it's gray, but they don't need to fly up and push it away. Leave behind the ego that wants to play the Lord of Truth. Their ability to see through things is a tool for gathering information, helping them make safer decisions for themselves. For example, not working with that fake person. Not a weapon to judge or clean up the world. Principle 2. Accept social masks. The suffering of perceptive people often comes from having standards that are too high when it comes to authenticity. They expect everyone to be real, to be transparent. But look again with more empathy through a psychological lens. Why do people wear masks? It's not always to deceive or harm. Most people wear masks to hide wounds, insecurity, and the fear of not being loved. That loud bragging guy at the table is really just a boy craving attention. The friend who always seems cold and arrogant is actually shaking inside, afraid of being betrayed again. Sometimes a lie is the only thing keeping them from falling apart. Once they understand this, anger or disgust toward fake behavior starts to fade. In its place comes radical acceptance. They see the mask, but they don't rip it off. They simply smile and allow the other person to feel safe inside it. The greatest form of understanding is not exposing someone's weakness, but seeing it clearly and still choosing to treat them with kindness. Principle 3. Forgive the blind spots of the present. To escape the detective trap, they must accept one risk. Stop trying to control the future. When their radar signals that a partner might be lying, they can acknowledge it, store it in the back of their mind, but not let it ruin the present moment. If their intuition says there's a 20% chance the relationship could end badly, they should have the courage to accept the 20% and still enjoy the 80% of joy right now. Living fully requires the courage to sometimes get hurt. They can see the thorns on a rose, but if they keep analyzing how sharp each thorn is, they will never smell the flower. Allow themselves at times to be intentionally blind, so the mind can rest and the heart can beat like a normal person's. When they learn to let go like this, something almost magical happens. Their ability to observe doesn't disappear. It evolves into something greater, true wisdom. They are no longer a cold X-ray machine exposing every flaw. They become a quiet lighthouse. They see all the hidden rocks and dangerous currents. But instead of panicking, they calmly guide their ship through. This level of perception is a brutal gift, but also the most beautiful one if they learn how to master it. Seeing the complex patterns of the world in high definition is both a heavy burden and a truly beautiful gift. This deep perception naturally allows you to read the hidden currents of life long before any real storm ever arrives. You never need to apologize for noticing the quiet but important truths that everyone else simply chooses to walk blindly past. It is entirely acceptable to switch off your relentless mental radar and give yourself the much-needed grace to breathe. How might your daily life completely change if you trusted your intuition instead of forcefully analyzing every single minor detail? If this resonated with you today, leave a short sentence in the comments below so others feel truly, deeply understood. Quiet your wonderfully brilliant mind for just a little while today, and carefully protect your delicately beautiful inner peace.